Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. I hope everyone is doing okay this evening. This is a fine Friday, if any Friday is fine. I'm going to be on Garland Nixon's show this evening. He's on Pacifica. I don't know if he's on the web. I think he's on YouTube. But he has a large radio network. Let me check my sound before we kick off. As we kick off, guys, if you enjoy what I put down, please consider becoming a patron or assisting the show through PayPal. Both help. Even if it's just a dollar actually goes a long way, especially when it's a lot of people assisting the content. So, also that said, if you want, like what I'm putting down as the show goes about its way, you want to assist through Streamlabs, there's a link in the description box that would allow you to give through an alternative super chat. The channel has been demonetized, so everything helps. It's funny. That is usually done for me at the beginning of it, kind of as a secondary. It's almost like if I did a video snapshot of just kind of an ask in supporting the show. But my transitioning is somewhat relevant to the ask. It's funny. They're contextually similar to one another. Is the Young Turks desperate for money? This little dog here is the saddest and cutest thing at the same time. It's hard to even fathom it because it's so cute, and yet it's so sad. The dog is sitting there begging for cash and begging for change. Is that the disposition of the Young Turks right now? The little dog begging for change? I asked that question for a reason. They've initiated a membership drive. Now, if you remember, let's go down the timeline. They hire journalists. They ask people, give us money, dog with the can. Give us cash. Please, give us cash. And the people gave them cash. And they hired people, journalists. They said, we're hiring people to be journalists. Radical transparency. Give us money. We're going to pay this money on journalists. And those journalists are going to go out and they're going to go out in the world. They're going to put their mic into the face of one Democrat, Republican, politician, person after the next. They're going to be analyzing that water. They're going to be in that particular place when there's a riot. They're going to be in that place when there's Standing Rock, Native Americans standing up for their land. They're going to be all over America. That's what we're going to do. So if you give us money, we're going to hire reporters. And they hired a few, but for all intents and purposes, it's hard to figure out what they did with the money. What they did with the money, Cenk. They take $20 million from a Democratic hack or operative. Katzenberg, donor. And fair enough. I take it for what it is. That it is an investment of cash with the understanding that the money is going to come back. It's an investment. It's not necessarily, I'm giving you money because I'm controlling you politically, even though I don't necessarily think you can disassociate economic and political ties. But okay, for whatever reason, they believe they can do this. That runs counter to their narrative from a political standpoint of the Young Turks, meaning of people investing money into politicians. Well, whatever. They get $20 million. That money is given, if I take them at their word, as an investment. Any level of investment has the belief that that money is going to be returned. There's a return on the investment. Meaning, what did he see? What did they see? What was they given? That the information came back and saying, yes, this looks to be a good investment. And it's given with the understanding that there's going to be a return on that investment. That money is going to be returned on that investment. Anonymous sources make the point that what they were shown, not necessarily cookbooks, but wasn't necessarily what it was made out to be. That the money was given not necessarily under the most correct of pretense. Let's say it that way. The point that I'm trying to make here is, yes, an investment, but maybe not necessarily as a sure investment as maybe it was given, or the perspective that it was given to be correct. I said that poorly, but I think you get what I'm saying. I'm trying to be specific in the way that I say this, because I don't want to give across this impression of a false impression. But it's like with anybody else, when you do your taxes or when you do anything else, you try to give your best possible positioning. And there's a possibility sometimes that, particularly in the sense of business, that your best possible positioning goes beyond the realm of what's actually true into what's more advantageous. Now, that said, after getting that money, within a very short period of getting that money, they're slashing and burning through staff. They have mass layoffs. Mass layoffs. In addition of a membership thing of a $4.99, essentially cutting the other one almost in half. And now there's a membership drive. Does all of this come across as a stable company? In one of the documents, or one of the stories that I recounted, the staff said they were demoralized at what was taking place. I mean, shit, man, you fired all of these people. You've gotten rid of all of these shows. And what happened to the reporters? We gave you $2 million. Did you give people $2 million, or did the $2 million given knowing that it was only going to be for 1 year? And if people knew that the reporters being hired was only going to be for 1 year, would they have given you the money for the reporters? That's not a fair question. I think that's a fair question. But beyond that point, a membership drive. Does all of this bespeak of a company that's stable, or does this bespeak of a company that needs cash? They were given $20 million as an investment. And because they have to return on that investment, whenever they need to return on that investment, they're making certain business decisions, choices that go beyond this idea of what they want to do necessarily, or maybe politically from a standpoint of their show. But ultimately, the choices are being boiled down to now political or economic choices. Are they cutting and burning in this way because they need to come back and make a return on their investment? That's what I'm asking. And if that's true, does that also mean that they are hurting for cash? I'm just asking the question. No, and I understand people ask the question because they're making an insinuation. Yes, I'm making an insinuation. I don't know that, so I can't necessarily say this is what's taking place. But I'm asking the question in the form of an insinuation. I'm being honest enough to say that I'm making an insinuation because I was told before that they were hurting for cash. So I'm just saying, I'm not going to keep this one long. All right, so look, like I said, I don't hate that. But this does not bespeak of a stable company. That's all I'm saying. That's my only point. It does not bespeak of a stable company. The company is slashing and burning off staff. And in addition to slashing and burning off staff, now you're screaming for a membership drive. And like I said early on, I was told that there was issues with the books. And this comes across as if they're trying to balance the books. Fair enough. The radical transparency thing. So, let me be honest for a moment. And I'm honest with you guys all the time. A little too honest, I think, or at least my wife thinks. I don't know why I don't like TYT. I don't like them. And it wasn't always that way. And there are certain things that they do that I do like and I agree with. Like politically, I'm closer to them. But I'm watching that and I'm thinking to myself, why don't you like them? What is it? For whatever reason, this exudes something that emotionally I don't like. What I realize is that this is kind of the problem with the political news thing. And to some degree, it's not just news. There are times where they would give things that may be right, but I've affixed a political identity to them. And yeah, I don't like it. I think they're sheepdogs. And the political identity of the sheepdog overrides anything else. It makes it difficult to watch. But nevertheless, it seems like they're begging for money, or at the very least, they're doing a membership drive. I asked the question, are they hurting for cash? So I'm not going to keep this one long. Just a heads up of what's taking place from the standpoint of TYT. I've covered them in other areas, and I've asked this question persistently. And it seems like if we're taking measure in an overarching narrative that seems to be happening, it does seem to be cash. Please give cash. I don't begrudge him for that, because myself, I am in the same situation of essentially begging, please give cash. But it was just slightly comical to me. Not in a bad way or mean-spirited way, but it was this, how can I say this? I don't typically like doing these shows on TYT, if I'm being honest. I feel like it breaks beyond what I typically like to do my shows on. But I do think there is something to be asked if you get a tip, and that tip says they're hurting for cash, and then it evolves the narrative of them hurting for cash. I'm gonna show it. I gotta show it. Yeah, it looks like they're hurting for cash. If by progressive you mean toxic liberalism in the worst sense, then yes, TYT is progressive. American insurgent. Hey, Gunk, are you back on your meds? What? Hey, Gunk. Stephen Carl. Oh, kick a buffalo once in a while. You're only human. You're only human. 2 times. Oh, Jamal. I never watched nor cared about TYT. Seems like this is one big thing. Not for me. I donate to your patron. Aw, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Can we talk about it sometimes? Can we talk about something else? Unless TYT are all in the BO. But it's far and few between when I do these 2 times. You're not going to ever get every episode that I do you're going to like. There'll be some episodes that you dislike. I am okay with you disliking some of my episodes. I am, really. It's what it is. My mom set me down at a very early age, and she said, son, it is ridiculous to believe that you're going to win every game. And there's a certain amount of arrogance associated with it. Yes, you should want to win. No, you should not have this idea that you're going to win every time. I have no expectation that you're going to like everything that I put out. So yeah, every so often, you get a TYT one. You're going to get a TYT one because you have 100 and something people here today. And you're going to get like 1,000 people who watch. It's one of those things of, it's interesting. It was a tip, and it was something that, yeah, I show tips depending on what those tips are. I would die for the source, but yes, I do the tips. Jamal does maybe 1 anti-TYT per week. I think he should do at least 1 a day. Gardner, see, that's my point. There's going to be some people who are like, yes, I love this, we need this, and others who are like, I don't like this. Left to my own devices 2 times, I would be like you. I don't like this. Just seems like a little vapid. Fair enough. Loads more important going on. Fair enough. I love you still. Fair enough. All that's true. There's a war that's going to potentially end the end of all things. I can call it that. The end of all things. That has a ring to it. There's an epicness associated with it. The end of all things. Now, it's not necessarily the end of all things. It's the end of all things from the standpoint of humanity on the planet Earth. Things will go on. Formless things. If there is any light of intelligence that's out there in the universe, they will go on. The universe itself, however, would not care 1 iota that man blinks himself out of existence. Now, you ask me, why is there going to be an end of all things? Why is there even we're close to that proposition? And I understand some people may say, oh, dude, you're being hyperbolic. You're overblowing this. There's no way they're going to let these people get to the point of falling over that cliff. There's no way that the capitalist class would allow the Republican Party, Democratic Party, those oligarchs in Russia to go beyond a certain point politically. After all, they're the controllers behind these things, right? How do you know that? And the fact that that potential exists, the end of all things, and the fact that that's something you can do, or some comically ridiculous, horrific, catastrophic thing could take place where a series of events allow you to tumble down a rabbit hole where one action compels another action, which compels another action, which tumbles you down a rabbit hole where you end up with the end of all things. Why is that even on the table? And yet that's on the table. Why doesn't that scare the shit out of you? Now, I know that reality exists. I know a lot of people know that reality exists. The fact that we've had 2 previous world wars, that last world war where they dropped a bomb, well, we have bombs today that would easily, not even comparable. My wife, at this moment, while the end of all things is a potential on the game board, is out there attending to the dog, getting the dog a haircut. My mom's down there looking at TV or something. My grandmother is doing something else. None of these people are overtly concerned with the end of all things, even though they understand that the people who they have in their power are bought. They understand that those people are vapid. They understand that those people are looking out for only for their interests. And in doing so is the problem. Oftentimes, many of the decisions that those people make are completely and utterly detached from consequence. So George Bush can murder 1 million people. Obama can sit there and drone strike. Drone king, god of the drones. One country after the next. Invading those countries, mind you. America power. Imperialism. 80% of the world's falling under our boot. And when they're at the funeral of a warmonger, a man who wanted to get us in one war and conflict after the next, the only thing that the media can talk about is that there is a tender moment when one war criminal who should have been dragged before the Hague tenderly does something with another war criminal. They don't call it in those terms. I call it in those terms. I'm saying it's the oddity that they don't call it in those terms, especially when you have all of these deaths under your boots. Yeah, there are more important things that we could talk about. That is infinitely true. The problem in this mix is that most people don't know that there are infinitely more things that are devastatingly difficult to talk about or problematic to talk about. They don't know. Most people don't know. Like, the thing that draws people's attention and everything else are not those things that are higher up. Having conversations about climate change, same thing. Most people, they know it's an issue, but their media concerns dramatically outweigh this idea of this ethereal, esoteric climate change that's out there somewhere, and they may kill somebody, but it's not going to get me, so I got to do my own thing. My point here is that most people are tended to minor, tiny things, not those big things. And so every so often, there are going to be things that, as you consider to be a bit vapid, fair enough, but that other people consider just be news or information for them. It's not going to always be what you want. There are other people who needed to be attended to. So, just saying. Just saying. Chuck E. Cheese. Michael went on with Jesse Lee Peterson, the guy who told Tim Black slavery was a choice black people made. Michael is over or going to be a right-wing guy again. Oh, God. He told somebody that. At this point, anyone who donates or signs up to TYT is either underinformed or sheep who doesn't care about how many times they're nipped off as long as they can tithe to their idols. Tithe to their idols. If you can't cut up on Friday, the fuck you working for? Right on, Stephen Carl. Right on. Right on. YouTube just isn't what it was in 2016. Occupy new paradigm. No, man, it is not. I was Rational National made this point that they demonetized his channel, and he went through. Now, the funny part in this is Rational National was the guy who was arguing that they could kick off Alex Jones. And then it's like a week or two later, he comes out and says, they demonetized my channel. I need help, guys. If I can keep doing this, I need you to give me money. Look, I don't begrudge him. I totally understand it. I agree with him that they, attacked his channel. And I don't know if he went to the point of saying, we need an extension of the First Amendment or anything else. He might have just taken it as it's their choice. They can do whatever they want. I still by the decision for Alex Jones. I stand by the decision for them to demonetize me too. God bless. But what he's saying is real. Like for me, because this is a small channel, it makes do, providing that the elements of the channel work. And I had crafted the paradigm of the channel based on, YouTube and everything else. It just puts you in a weird world, man. It's like a world where you're completely dependent upon a company that you have that's ethereal. Like, it's there. It's out there somewhere. And that company can make any choices and any decisions that they want to make for your livelihood. You have nothing to do with it. You're technically an independent contractor, but the independent contract is with one source. And I mean, granted, I can have other companies, but this is a very particular arrangement that these guys have come up with. And it creates this kind of powerful command of sorts. It's aggravating, that's all. Vote for her now, gaslighter. Vote for her now, gaslight later. Gaslight later. God, that's hard to say. Vote for her now, gaslight later. Vote for her in 2016, gaslight your base the next day, fire, viewer, hire, investigative journalist. Yeah, I'm saying this poorly. Vote for her in 2016, gaslight your base the next day, fire your viewer, hired, investigative reporters later. Profit! Profit. I hope I did that justice. Cal lost me with that. I'm a Justice Democrat. Yeah, Pat. Yeah. That didn't help. That did not help their cause. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Cal did this video, and look, I like Cal. Cal is one of my favorite guys on YouTube. So no, issue. People do what they do. But he did a video because people were pushing back on the Justice Democrats thing. And he's in the video screaming at the top of his lungs, get the fuck out the way. And it's like, whoa. It's like, whoa, dog. It's like, come on. Cal just plays his assigned role, much like Sanders. Warren Cortez. Oh, I knew Sanders. It was lurking. I knew it. It was like lurking under the covers. It's like hidden racism. Like, if you're talking to somebody who's like, let's say there was something that person has said or done that's giving you a certain idea, but it's not exposed. It's not on the forefront. And it's just kind of there, lurking. Like a hatred of Jews, hatred of blacks, hatred of whatever. And it's just lurking. And something comes up, some random conversation, and Jew comes up or black comes up, and it's like, I knew it. That's kind of how Bob Ramirez is with Bernie Sanders. It's lurking behind the covers. I know he's going to say something about Bernie Sanders at some point. It's just going to pop up, and it's going to be like, there it is. Just saying. Gunk Katzenberg, Kid Cougar, for example. What? Hard Bastard, he's another channel. He's a right-wing channel. Yeah, HB. He's been on here before. He's a right-wing channel. There's, it's funny. The HB, when him and I talk, him and I usually stay within the realm of what are the things that we agree with. Now, the reason why that's interesting is because it's usually boiled down to this thing of media and speech. The ability to be able to say what you say, and you make your case and you make your argument. Now, I don't have this belief that argument is in and of itself the thing that sways people's minds. It doesn't. There are all sorts of things that go into a conversation that sways people's minds. I mean, ultimately, people live in 4 dimensions or 3 dimensions, depending on what you want to consider time, or for that mind, what you want to consider their minds. Because whatever this is, their mind is another dimension and a coloring and what they put on reality. Richard Nixon, John F. Kennedy, has a debate. In that debate, the people who heard it on the radio thought Nixon won. The people who saw it thought John F. Kennedy won. Why? Because optics played a role in the debate. It went more than just the argument. That makes sense. Because what you're thinking of this, to some degree, is dependent upon what you think you're seeing, the information that's coming into your eyes. And you give a certain appraisal of what that information is. If Richard Nixon is sweating because it makes it look like Richard Nixon has something to hide, or Richard Nixon is under pressure or something. Whereas the people who heard it thought Richard Nixon was giving a pretty damn good, response and call and response. Yeah, it matters. But that's all we got. And it is up to us to win the debate. Like, whether that's optics or anything else. Now, the left's strongest point in winning the debate comes down to whether they mean it. If the left doesn't mean it, then the left is going to lose that debate. If I can't make an argument to you where you look at what I'm saying to you, and I'm making this argument of the amelioration of the working class, or this idea that workers should run the means of production, that workers should be the ones who organize society, seeing as if you do the work of the society, then you should get the spoils of that society, not having it expropriated to the top 1%. If that's the argument that I make, and there's some defect in that argument because you can kind of point to areas where I was full of shit, then I'm going to lose. Because it makes it look like I'm lying to you. The left weakens itself when the left lies in this way. I put to you that the reason why the Democratic Party is as weak as it is now is because nobody believes that it represents the interest to which it says it represents. It's not that the Republican Party is just fucking awesome. It's that the other guy doesn't represent what it says it represents. Just saying. Just saying. Hard Bastard. Yeah, Hard Bastard is a channel. Creative Experiments. Capitalists are co-opting the left and people sit by and accept it and cheer on Cory Booker. Yeah. So, yes and no. I don't cheer Cory Booker. Look, the problem is, when people look at this, sometimes they look at it in one-dimensional ways. It is true that Cory Booker is running for president. That's true. He probably will run. It is true that in wanting to run for president, he needs to distinguish himself from the crowd. How do you distinguish yourself from the crowd? You have Bernie fucking Sanders, who's a goddamn socialist, who may be running, and everywhere you go, he pushes further to the left because he's in his sandbox. Let's keep in mind, he probably would prefer to go further to the left if you were Bernie Sanders. So how do you distinguish yourself? Well, I'm Cory Booker, and I'm going to get locked up for justice in America. If you look at what Cory Booker was saying, Cory Booker kept repeating the same thing over and over again, saying, I understand, sir, that what I'm doing is going against this thing. You can take me out of here, sir. Take me out of here. It was a fascinating hearing. The best thing in the world that would have ever happened to Cory Booker that day, if Cory Booker would have been ejected from that office, from the Senate. He would have turned back, he would have turned that into a campaign thing, and it would have said, standing for justice in America, Cory Booker. And it would have put it, fade to black with Cory Booker being in chains. But it's also true that Brett Kavanaugh has no place being on the Supreme Court. All of those things can be true at once. People don't look at those things that way, but all of those things can be true at the exact same time. He can be a showboat, he can be a theater and drama queen, yes. It could also be that Brett Kavanaugh has no place being on that Supreme Court. And if Cory Booker wants to be a drama queen on something, yeah, let him be a drama queen if it has any way, if for 1 second it can hold the line and keeping Brett Kavanaugh from getting on that seat. I don't care if he's a drama queen. If it helps, let him do it. Those are the tools to which he has to work. Those are the weapons at his disposal. Let him do it. Let him do it. And by the way, it's not that they don't have a point. Just because they're Democrats don't mean they're wrong. Fact is, Republicans are trying to expedite the process of getting Brett Kavanaugh in office. That's what they're trying to do. They have all of these documents that this guy had during the Bush administration that they don't want to show, or that they want to show in a way where it doesn't allow them to do due diligence to look through it. Typically, it would take months to get this process done, but they don't want to do this, or they don't want to allow the election, because if they lose the Senate, all of this goes away. Fact is, the Democratic Party should allow the Senate, the Supreme Court, to die on the vine. That's what the Republican Party did to you. They were perfectly willing to let it die on the vine if Hillary Clinton had got elected. I'm suggesting to you that you'd be willing to do the same, at the very least until the next election. Just saying. It's not one or the other. Meaning it's not Cory Booker is a drama queen. Yes, Cory Booker is a drama queen. But he's being a drama queen for something that's actually a reason to be a drama queen with. And these are the tools at his disposal. The Democratic Party has allowed it to get to this point, meaning you've weakened yourself to such a degree that a maniac got in office. And that maniac that got in office put another maniac in the Supreme Court in a seat that they don't deserve and was unearned. Whether I like the Democratic Party or not is irrelevant to that. All of what I said is true. If the thing that keeps Kavanaugh out of that seat is Booker, then, that's not going to be Booker, by the way. I don't know what they can do or what they have at their disposal. If they have to bleed in the well of the Senate to stop Kavanaugh, meaning slit their own wrists, then do it. But they shouldn't let another Republican be on that seat. That man is going to be on that seat for the rest of his life. And the policies that he's put through is going to exceed him like he's a goddamn zombie. So it's not that Cory Booker is, yay, the resistance. These are political reasons that he's doing these things. But there are real world consequences for these things, which is why I'm like, whatever you need to do, do it. But don't have this comic book version of things of Cory Booker being some kind of champion of justice. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. It's a little bit more complex than just, it's fighting for justice. They don't have the votes. You mean they don't have the votes for, I hope they don't. They need to stop Brett Kavanaugh. Merrick Garland should be sitting on that seat right now. Gersh is in that seat. Gersh took a jackhammer to labor. Mitch McConnell's greatest achievement in his worthless, spineless life was essentially holding up Obama's nomination of Merrick Garland. Because the fact is, that kept the Supreme Court conservative, which allowed them to attack worker and labor. And they were going to be passing one right-wing, you could say, approving one right-wing thing for the next 30, 40 years, providing Merrick Garland doesn't drop dead or one of the other conservative members doesn't drop dead. If there's a God. All right. Oh, let me see. Somebody contributed. I'm going to read all of these, by the way. So anytime somebody contributes, I read it. Someone said I was missing some, and on one of the other videos, I think I did miss maybe one or two. That's over. I'm doing one of these things why this is one of my new rules that I've instituted for myself. There's been a few. There's been several changes that have taken place over my life in the past year. And I have a certain ideology of the world, but that ideology of the world has to conform to reality. And meaning, like, if I want to stay mentally sharp, I need to do X. If that makes sense, right? Like, if you want to be good at chess, you have to want to be good at chess, and you have to play chess. If I want to be physically fit, I need to work out. I can't eat bonbons and have, this rugged physique. It doesn't work that way. It's like you go about your way without a structure, and for a while it's good, and you can even kind of make your living and everything else with it that way. But from the standpoint of operating, it becomes easy to be organized, or easier to be organized, and it's like man descending into fuckery and chaos, or descending into his own restraint. God descending into man of sorts. It's like God playing chess. He's God, and yet he's pushing a pawn or pushing a piece. I don't know. Let's see. This is Pat's. Hey Jamal, Chris Hedges was interviewed a couple of days ago on MSNBC. It seems he was cut off when he mentioned Karl Marx. You should check it out. No way. There's no way. Wow, I'll check it out. I love Chris Hedges. If I know anything about Hedges, he has Hedges has a way of talking where he in many of his interviews he's getting across the same information. Well, he does so because he wants to. It's for added impact, and he knows at this point probably the best way to kind of get what he wants to get across. He's become a gloomy guy. Like, he really has. Pats, thank you, by the way. And vote for her now, gaslighter. That has to be Balthazar. Thank you also, Balthazar. Look, here's the thing. Sometimes there's no way out. Understand what I mean here. I don't mean this in this kind of like, my mom and I will have these conversations sometimes, and you know, she's a Christian. She believes in God, and you know, I would kind of make the point, like, what about the no way outs? The guy that's wife and kid, they go on a vacation, they're on an airplane, the airplane is going down. There's nothing you could do. There are no way out situations. That guy could be James Bond, but that plane is going to fall and crash. It doesn't matter what his skill set is. It doesn't matter what his IQ was. It doesn't matter how fast he is, how great he could have sex. That plane is going down. Reality doesn't care. There's no God to look on. Or at the very least, we don't have any knowledge of it, if it is. There's no way out. Now, I say that to say that what Chris Hedges is getting across is that we have a feel-good culture where it's this idea that there's always a solution. That from our standpoint, we get up, we go to work, we have a governmental structure, and this seems real to us. It seems like there's a solid and structured world out there, but the solid and structured world is just one of thought. Beyond that, we're a ball floating through the cosmos, and random shit happens all the time. It is not something that we necessarily have control over, but the way that we go about our affairs makes it seem like as we have a certain amount of control. In the case of a nuclear bomb, get under your desk, hold your head down, and just wait it out. That's utter nonsense. But they told kids that because they wanted kids to believe that there was a certain measure of control that would take place if there was a nuclear bomb. So how do you get across we're on the way down to a culture that doesn't necessarily know how to process that? And that's what Chris Hedges' book is. And he's gloomy. I mean, he's gloomy because he looks as if, fuck, there's nothing we can do about this. Not because we can't do anything about this. Meaning, the capability is there. Like, at this point, war, poverty, those things are choices. The capability is there. If there was a war and we needed to marshal a ton of resources to do X, Y, Z, we could do it. If we could do it for a war, we could do it to get rid of poverty and everything else. We just don't. We make a choice to say, well, no, it is more important that the wealth be expropriated to the top 1%, as opposed to making sure we get rid of poverty and we have a decent living for the people on this on the planet. We make a choice. We make a choice. Chris Hedges understands that even just from climate alone, we are fucked. Not because we can't do anything about it. That's the most aggravating part. And that's the part I would imagine grates on him. Because he knows. He sees it. It's a choice. We're going downhill, and it's all done on choice. It doesn't have to be this way. It's chosen to be this way. And there's a large section of the population that pays no attention to me. And the catch to this is, Chris Hedges is such a bright, fucking awesome guy. But the overwhelming majority of the population is looking at that vapid content that 2 times decries. Just saying. How much Russian money goes into Streamlabs anyway? Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Not enough. Not enough. If that's what's taking place. Not enough. McCart, Louisiana. Jamal, can you do a video about how free energy can end poverty? Well, free energy could end poverty if somebody could bring about a free energy device. Just saying, yeah. Yeah. Just need to get the device. Show the device. Edward Klein, TYT has the same audience as MSNBC and CNN. They're now they do, not before. Not before. It wasn't that way before. They understood their allies. I mean, look, from the standpoint of American politics, you have Democrats and Republicans. You have Trump being against media. You have TYT, which was supposed to be this kind of anti-MSNBC thing, or this MSNBC light. Well, where are they going to fall in this distribution? They're not like the lefties, or not like the extreme or hard left. And between those two things, they are more inclined with an MSNBC Democratic establishment politics. They're just a little bit rowdier. They want a little bit more, governmental services. That's their shtick. So yeah, that's where they're going to be. They're MSNBC light from the political establishment standpoint. That's where they fit. It is what it is. That's not good, bad. It is what it is. It's good or bad depending on who you are. We dislike it because we know that in a clutch, that's going to be vote Clinton. It's not what I think. It's what I know because it's what happened. So I'm just saying. Oh dear, in trouble with Jamal for vapid. You're not in trouble for vapid. You're not in trouble for vapid. I love that. I love that you use the term vapid. I love it. I love it. No, you're fine. Baltazar, TYT criticizes the limbo Fox News viewer but doesn't acknowledge their role in the line. Yeah. I'm an all-right troll, but I do many things to help mistakenly. Now, I guess any irony, bro, would be the easiest simple phrase. Irony, bro. I love that. Irony, bro. Nice block functions. All right, I'm going to end this. Yeah, guys. Thank you all for showing. By the way, I don't hate TYT. I don't hate him at all. I think I disagree with their political. They're MSNBC light. That's what it is. I don't like MSNBC. I think they're just an appendage of the Democratic Party. And for all intents and purposes, I think TYT is the same. Yes, they're rowdier. But ultimately, when it boils down to it's vote whoever the Democrat is. They're sheepdogs at best. So, what do you call it? Planned opposition at worst. So, I'll end this here. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through Patreon. Even if it's $1, by the way. Patreon or PayPal. Let's see. Who is this? Kills for a living. Kills for a living. That name trips me out. TYT stays scamming these milquetoast liberals. I thought the $2 million was for the reporters for 2 years. They fired everyone after one. I keep asking that myself. I keep thinking, am I odd for asking that question? Like maybe I'm wrong for that. I've never seen an answer for that. I've looked for that. You hire a reporter for 2 years. You hire a reporter for 1 year. You get $2 million. You hire a reporter for 1 year. Yeah. Kills for a living. Yeah. Kills for a living. Fair enough. All right, guys. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support the Patreon. I think I already said that. Have a good one, guys.